Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast, the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment, where we try to improve our skills as an angler by learning new techniques or improving the ones we already know. I'm your host, Ryan Milford. Welcome back to the Bass Fishing for Noobs on Paddle and Fin Podcast. I'm Ryan, as always, and today we got the one and only Susie Roloff. Hi, Susie.
What's going on?
Welcome to Bass Fishing for Noobs.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I think you might be the last one of the group to be on my segment.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I
Nice.
think so. I'm gonna have to start going back through everybody after I'm through with you.
Nice. I was going to say, I think I still have to get through almost everybody except for Brian.
Yeah,
So-
he's been on there a few times.
Yeah, he has. Yep.
So how you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. Getting some awesome weather tonight, that's for sure. Yeah, we getting some snow dumped on us right now. I think we've probably got maybe at least 3 or 4 inches so far, but it's been kind of like a wet, kind of slushy snow. But tonight it's supposed to get pretty cold. I think it's going to get down to like 17, and then tomorrow I don't think it's going to be any warmer. And tomorrow night, I think the low is like -10 or something like that. So I'm just like,
We're just getting a bunch of nasty rain.
right. I'd prefer rain, I mean,
At least you can play in snow.
yeah,
I mean, I guess I can go mudding, but I don't have four-wheel anymore, so.
right. Yeah. So, but yeah, and then I'm almost over my sickness I had about a week and a half ago, but poor Adam, he stayed home today because he's got it now. So
Passed it on to him.
I did, yeah, poor thing. But yeah, so he'll probably be done with that for the next day or two. So yeah, it's just that time of year and everything. But yeah, today I came home, I had like 3 boxes waiting for me, and Adam's like, "You got more stuff?" And he's like, "It's always fishing stuff." I'm like, "Yep." So yeah, I'd actually made a pretty big order on Tackle Warehouse. I was in the process of replacing hooks and upgrading hardware, and replacing some baits and stuff that I had kind of used and whatnot. So kind of my winter routine that I do.
That's something that I need to do because I don't know if I've ever replaced any hooks on anything. And usually, I don't use a whole lot of crankbaits and stuff like that. But as everybody knows, last year I got really big into the whopper plopper, and it's got treble hooks and stuff. So I probably need to change those out this year, especially as much as I used them last year.
Yeah, I was never really big into changing hooks myself either until probably the last 2.5 years. More especially this past year, especially when it came to jerkbaits. And last year was like kind of my first year throwing jerkbaits too, so it kind of coincided with itself. But some of the stock hooks on certain ones, like they just, after 3 or 4 fish, they would start breaking. So like I'd have one of the barbs break off on one end. I'd be like, I think I'll be all right, and then boom, the other one would break off, and I just have like one barb, and I'd be like, okay, now I can see why everybody says to replace the hooks out.
So
yeah.
that's why I guess I've never replaced hooks, because I've never caught 3 or 4 fish on a single lure.
Right. Yeah. And the other part of it is I had a couple boxes that I hadn't touched in a while, and I was looking through it, and moisture can get into anything, and before I knew it, I had like 15, 20 lures that had rusted out hooks. So I was just like, all right, I gotta replace these.
That's my main issue there is rust. Because see, something I do, I've got a little magnetic tray that I keep on my kayak,
Oh yeah.
And whenever I change the lure out, it's still wet, I put it in that tray. That way it can sit there and dry before I put it back in my box. And a lot of the time, what ends up happening is when I'm getting out of the water and I load up my kayak and everything, I just pick up that tray and I stick it in the little side tray inside my toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget all about them. And then, 2 or 3 weeks later, I open up my toolbox and I see them down there. I'm like, yeah, these probably need to be put up now. They're probably about dry.
Yeah, yeah. I had kind of a similar thing happen to me last year too. I was out at Banner and I have just like a little Plano box that I use for my terminal tackle. Actually, I've got like all my stuff behind me here too. But it was actually just one of these kind of little Plano box things that I got. I would just kind of keep my basics in there. So like just some hooks, weights and whatnot, trying to keep it simple. And it was open and it was down where my feet are. And I had a fish flop down and everything and didn't really think much of it. And I got home. Sometimes when I get home, I'll just like throw stuff in the garage and not even think about it, Well, a week went by. And I go, to look at my stuff, and it was when I was out on the water too. Like I opened up the box, I was like, oh no. So yeah, needless to say, I'm like, all right, I need to be better at this and plan a little bit better for outings and stuff like that. So yeah.
And speaking of things getting wet, tonight, well, I've had a very interesting day. This is kind of off subject and everything, but I really wanted to tell this story because it turned out kind of cool. All right, so my day, I had jury duty today.
Oh.
So I go there. I don't get picked to be on the jury, so I get out there at like 10:30. I call work. They say I don't have to come in because it was pretty far. I live pretty far from my work, so
Mm-hmm.
they said I didn't have to come in because by the time I got there, it's only going to be like an hour and a half left in the day, and they still pay me for the whole day, so that's cool. So I'm
Nice.
like, cool. I got like a whole afternoon to chill and do whatever. So I go home and you know I eat some lunch and everything, and then a little bit later, my wife is about to leave to go pick up my daughter from school, and she goes to leave. She comes back in. My car won't start.
Oh
I'm
no.
like, I'm like, did you leave a light on or something in it? She's like, no. So I'm like, she probably left the light on. So I go out there and it's got power and it's just clicking. I'm like, that's probably the starter.
Oh no.
Actually, so I went and picked up my daughter, brought her back home, took took the took her car. I was able to get it started and took it down to O'Reilly's. And I was gonna like since I was able to get it started by jumping it off, I was like maybe it is like the battery or something. So they checked the battery. Battery's good, and so they're gonna check the alternator. It won't start. And they're like, yeah, that's probably your starter. I'm like, that's the same thing I thought, but then it started when I cranked it. They said sometimes getting that juice will make it work, but so end up having to get my father-in-law to help me tow it home. I had to spend $200 on a starter, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
Right.
Uh, and it's all the way behind the motor, so it was kind of a pain to change. So, I got it changed, and I had to take the old one back because they charge you like $20 for a core.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mhm.
So I I take the old one back, get back home, go to eat dinner, and realize I had been using my phone as a flashlight while working on her car, and I left it on top of a cross member underneath the car, just sitting there.
Oh no.
So I start panicking, like it probably fell out on the road, probably hit a bump, it fell. Go out there, you see a light shining on the driveway. It's still sitting up in there after going down the road.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, yes, Yes, I still have my phone, and it was a little wet from since it's pouring down rain, but thank goodness iPhones are waterproof.
Right? Yeah. Well, you got pretty solid case on there too. That, oh my gosh, yeah, like what luck. Like, yeah, any other time for anybody else, yeah, it would have fallen out and got ran over.
And I just wanted to share that story because that's so awesome to me. I just started laughing.
Right? I would have too. I would have been like, all right, yep, one of those days.
Yeah, so fishing.
Yes, back to fishing.
So I can't, I wanted to talk a little more on the whole change out your hooks thing because that's not something people talk about a whole lot. At least not that I've heard.
Sure.
I can't remember if you said it. Did you say how often you change yours out?
No. So usually, I mean, I'm still kind of new into the whole changing out the hook thing, but there's a couple certain brands of lures when I get, I'll want to replace out the hooks right away. And then there's other brands where they come stock with some pretty good hooks. So it just kind of depends on, what lures and stuff you have. Sometimes it's just, all about doing a little bit of research to see what's come stock on those and whatnot. But usually just as needed, pretty much, if it's a good stock hook, then I'll just keep it on there. I'll visually inspect everything in the winter time. And then the only other time that I'll really need to change stuff out is if I know that there's one lure in particular that I use a lot, such as like a whopper plopper or jerk baits. If there's one in particular, I'll make sure to change those hooks out maybe a couple times. I think my whopper plopper, I changed the hooks out in it probably 4 times last year. One of them, like I had broke it.
1 year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it's because I use it so much and I catch a variety of fish on there. One being muskie. So, they'll tear hooks up right away, and I had slashed my fingers when I caught one last year, and they shred the hooks too. So usually after I've had, encounter with them, like both hooks come off and I put new ones on there. But, I'll just kind of, visually inspect it. If I see that one's getting kind of bent out a little bit, then, I'll go and change it. But the whopper plopper, like as soon as top water is on, like that's like my go-to just about when I'm out fishing, especially out here at Banner. So, I mean, when you got overcast and just that little bit of breeze, it's dynamite.
I'm not the only one.
Right.
I catch so much hell about the whopper plopper, but it truly is an amazing lure.
Yes, it is.
So whenever you're changing out the hooks, like, obviously certain different lures have different size hooks on them. Do you try to match the same size that's on there, or do you have like your own preferences where you like to change them to?
Usually I'll try to stay true to the size. Sometimes when I change sizes, it'll be either up or down. So when I do change sizes, when I go up, making it bigger hook, I'll do that on crankbaits. I'll do it on rattle traps, those types of things. And when I go down, surprisingly, I'll actually do it on jerk baits. Something about having smaller hooks on there, I think just the hookup ratio increases. I think I also got that from Tactical Bassin, if I'm not mistaken. I watch a lot of their videos too and have kind of learned a lot. But also too, just, it's after you've, been out on the water and you can kind of compare. So like, the first part of last year, I used stock hooks. And then when I learned after like the first month and a half after using them, it's like, okay, I need to upgrade. But then, when I'm going to upgrade, I'm going to get the same size, or I'm going to get smaller, I'm going to get bigger. And some of them I stayed the same size, and some of them I went smaller. And I had noticed with some of the ones that I went smaller on, my hookup ratio increased. Whereas sometimes when I stayed the same size, and it could have been a variety of different things too. But with the bigger the hooks, sometimes I was only getting the bass with just one barb. Whereas the smaller hooks, the whole thing would be in their mouth. So, and again, it could have just been the way the bite was, or maybe just the way that they got hooked or whatever type of thing. But I noticed when I had I'd usually go a size down on the hooks with the jerk baits, I'd get more a better hookup ratio.
Now, I've never noticed, do the packages with lures usually have the hook size on them? Because I couldn't tell you what size hooks are on them to go up or down or the same.
That is actually a good point that you bring up. No, they don't. And even sometimes, like just Googling what size hook is on a KVD jerkbait or lipless crank, it's actually kind of hard to find, believe it or not. So, I've had to do a lot of, all right, I'm taking my hook into Bass Pro and holding it up to the package to see what size it is, when I first started, because I was just like, I don't have a clue what size I need, what comes standard, what size should I get, it's taken a lot of, kind of mix and matching and figuring out for myself to know exactly what I need. But no, yeah, there isn't usually hook sizes labeled on some of the packaging. Some brands might, not all of them do. But yeah, you have to look it up for yourself.
Is there a specific brand that you like to go to when you're changing them out?
When it comes to trebles and my worm hooks, my EWGs, and offset shank hooks, I like to do Gamakatsu hooks. They're usually pretty reasonable. They might be a little bit more on the pricey side for some people, but I've never had issues with them. Whereas some other brands, you put them on there and you're breaking hooks after like the third or fourth fish. Whereas, the Gamakatsu, I could catch fish all day on the same hook, and still be pretty solid. So, I mean, if I had to recommend a brand, it'd be that one. I haven't really tried a whole lot of other brands. Eagle Claw, I would kind of say to stay away from.
I might have to disagree with that. No, I've had people tell me from start of me, really getting into bass fishing that, you use Gamakatsu and stuff, and I did for a while, and they're good hooks. Mm-hmm. I found a pack of the Eagle Claw Laser Sharp. Like it had a bunch of different things in it, like the round bend offset hooks, the wide gap offset hooks, the wacky hooks, and swim bait hooks. It's like this big old package of different hooks and sizes and all that for like $10 at Walmart. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just try it out. And I don't Texas rig a lot or really any of that a lot. A lot of time it's like a jig or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, but I have used those. I've caught fish off of them. For a tournament angler or something like that, yeah, maybe not.
Mm-hmm. But I should clarify. I mean, when I say Eagle Claw, I mean like the treble hooks with Eagle Claw. Okay. I wouldn't trust those on crankbaits. Now, when it comes to like your Texas rig hooks, offset hooks or whatever, those would probably be pretty good. I think I started out with those maybe when I first got into everything. So yeah.
Like I said, I ain't had really any issues. For anybody new to bass fishing that is just starting out, it can be really expensive getting into sport. So I definitely recommend that little $10 pack because that's going to last you a while.
Oh, totally. Yep, totally. Yeah, and it's also about, budgeting too. Not everybody can go out and, drop $30 on an 8-pack of expensive hooks, Yeah. But you got to kind of find what works for you. And just, even if it is going with, bottom of the barrel, but, find a way to make it work. But also, take care of your gear too. Don't make the mistake of leaving it in your box that's wet after, at the end of the day, because you're going to come to it, within the next day, they could already be rusted out. So make sure you take care of your gear.
Especially if you get the expensive hooks.
Yep, exactly.
The cheap hooks don't sting quite as bad, but
right.
expensive.
Yep.
So what about the split ring? Do you have like specific split rings you use?
So let's see here. The kind that I have, I think, I don't even know if they really have their owner. I think they were just something that I had seen online at Tackle Warehouse. That's kind of where I get a lot of my stuff too, because it's just, it's convenience and everything. But I use a size 3, which I think is rated for, how many pounds is it? Like 30, 50? I can't remember what the pound rating is on the split ring hooks, but I just use a size number 3 with the owner split ring. They're fairly inexpensive. I think like a 15 pack is like $3 or $4 or something like that. So it's not too bad. But I like to use those when I'm replacing stuff out. And when it comes to split rings, I don't usually replace those out as much as like what I do for hooks. I'll just use the standard split rings that come in there. But again, I'll replace them out just because I've let things rust. So.
Well, I was about to ask you, like, how far do you let them rust till you change them? Like, the moment you see a little rust on there, do you change them? Or, like, when they, like, okay, this is, like, pretty much all brown?
It just kind of depends. Like, if I'm visually inspecting it, and I see just, like, a little spot, I'll let it go. I mean, that usually isn't a big deal. But, like, if I can see, like, especially in between the ring itself, if there's like a whole ring of it that's rusted, then I'll change it out, because I know that that's at the point of no return. But and kind of same thing with hooks too. Like sometimes I'll see rust like in weirdest places. It boggles my mind. Like there'll be rust on like, the outside of like the bend, or like right in the eyelet. I was like, how does it determine where it rusts? But I'll kind of just look and see, okay, I don't think anything's really compromised with it being right there, so I'll keep using it. But sometimes if there's rust right on the barb, then yeah, of course I'll throw it out after that, because it's kind of pointless having a hook with a rusted out barb. But yeah, majority of the time, yeah. And you can also spot clean some rust too. So what you do is you take vinegar, just like regular vinegar. And if you've got a hook that's got some spots in it, I just take like a little cup or something in it, and I'll just drop a couple of hooks in there, let them soak in there for a little while, maybe about an hour or two. And I just take a toothbrush and I scrub them real good, and most of the time it'll come right out.
I might have to try that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, especially when I leave them in that little compartment in my toolbox.
Right. I know there's other cleaner stuff or something like that you can get for hooks. I haven't really messed around with that a whole lot. But yeah, if you're looking just to kind of touch something up without having to replace everything out, just touch it up with some vinegar and a good old toothbrush.
Wow, we just killed like over 20 minutes talking about replace like hook rust, But no, I really do think that's good information, because that's something a lot of people don't talk about, especially on a podcast. You don't talk about changing hooks that much, or if it does get mentioned, it don't go into detail. So I think that's some good information for people that don't know about it.
Yep, exactly. And I learned the hard way last year too, to always keep a pair of split ring pliers with you on your kayak.
Yeah, you had to change that hook out, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, like literally somebody had to come out and cut it off, because not a single person I ran into at that lake had a pair of split ring pliers. Everybody else had regular pliers, but they didn't have the split ring tool.
You should have just used the regular pliers to just yank the hook out.
Yeah.
Did you try the braid method?
We actually did once we got back to once we ported my kayak back to the truck, and a buddy of mine was there, and he tied the braid onto it, and it kind of wiggled around a little bit, and then just bloop, popped it right out.
I guess it does make sense. You got to take the lure or take the hook off the lure before
Yep.
you do that.
Yep. Yeah, it's not very smart to be pulling a lure off when it's still got other hooks on it too. But yeah, I definitely keep a pair of split ring pliers in my kayak now too, along with a few other tools.
Yeah, I don't carry them. So I remember when I heard that story originally, that I was like, should probably do that. But then I think I was also thinking, like, I can get them with regular pliers. Yeah, I can get it. Yeah, when you're in pain, it might be a little different.
That's what you think. And when you have a hook in your right hand and you're right-handed, oh, it's awful because it's like awkward and everything, and trying to use pliers. I mean, you got to think about it. Those split rings and hooks can be super tiny. I mean, especially on a jerk bait, that's going to be super tiny. And, you got these big fat pliers. I mean, depending on what you have, trying to get in there and everything, you're just going to get frustrated and be like, I wish I had split ring pliers with me.
Well, I can't argue with the size of the split ring. I will say I am somewhat ambidextrous, so I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you were aware of this. I know some of the guys are, but I'm right-handed, but I cast with my left hand and still reel in, right-handed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
what's weird is a lot of people, like, I cast spinning or casting with my left hand.
Mm-hmm.
And just cast and reel.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm right-handed. I cast right-handed, but I reel with my left.
Okay. So you're like the exact opposite of me.
Just about, yep.
See, a lot of right-handed people cast with their right hand and put it in their left hand.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not me. Yeah, I'll cast and everything with the right hand, but when it comes to reeling, I do it with the left. It just, yeah.
Well, okay, as somebody that uses the same hand to cast as they do to hold the pole while they reel in, let me ask you this question. With a bait caster, I find myself, I've heard it said, I believe it was Sam Jones that said before, like, man, I wish I would have learned to do that to kind of save time and not have to move hands. But something I've noticed myself doing it, I move my hand down, like behind the reel when I cast, and then I have to move it back up afterwards, because I like to, like, hold the reel and have my line going over my finger there, and while I'm reeling. So do you do that, or do you keep your hand up there when you're casting?
So actually, when I first started using a bait caster, I used to hold my hand like down, like I wouldn't even like thumb the spool. Like I would just hold it awkwardly, but that's because I was so used to throwing a spinning reel, because that's what I grew up on and that's kind of all I'd ever used. And, it wasn't until somebody had said, hey, position your hand like this when you're casting. You're not only going to have better control of your cast, but better control of the spool. And it was just, the placement of my thumb and two fingers. And I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. This is like life-changing. So usually when I cast is, I'll have my thumb over the spool and then my two fingers will be kind of like up and around the back and just zoom. And I don't really have to adjust much of anything.
So, like, try. I'm hitting the ceiling right now.
Right. Yep.
So, like, tell me what to do here.
All right. So.
Oh, do you have one handy?
Yep, I sure do.
Okay. You sitting here making me, like, hold myself here, and you got one right there.
All right. Yep.
You're about to lose them all.
All right. So see if I can do this. So I'll usually have my thumb here, and then that's kind of the way my hands are on the back. And like, I don't ever have to adjust.
So you never change from that?
Mm-mm.
Me, after I'll cast similar to you, like that. But after I cast, I'll move my hand up here to where I'm like grasping the whole thing, and I got the line running over here so I can feel anything that touches that line.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I can kind of see that, you know, because you're wanting to kind of still get a feel on the line and whatnot. That's I do that a lot with like my spinning reels. Like you know, I'll flip it and I'll have the line underneath my finger. But when it comes like the bait caster, I don't even worry about like, you know, feeling the line or anything like that, just because it's, you know, it's awkward for me to kind of hold it like that and whatever. And, you know, most of the time I'm either going to be watching my line or I'll be able to feel it on my rod too. So like, you know, it's visual and feel. So that way I don't necessarily have to hold, you know, my finger up there to feel everything in a sense, you know. And if you're having trouble with, you know, not feeling things, you know, it could be a matter of, you know, what line do you have set up on it? Do you got too heavy of a line with too light of a lure? Is your rod set up for the action that you're using? Which, you know, this past winter, I've like really worked on, you know, getting my setups just, you know, just right. So like, you know, I have a setup for Texas rig. I got set up for ploppers. I got a set up for frogs. I got a set up for spinner baits, you know, so that way I know, oh, it's got this weight of line on here. And so I'm going to be like, all right, I know that I can throw a half-ounce spinner bait or chatterbait on this and not have to worry about much of anything because I'm going to be able to feel it. I've got everything set up the way it goes. It's got the right action. It's got the right reel strength to it, and boom, ready to go. It took me, I still struggle with it. It took me forever to kind of get that figured out. And I can kind of see, you know, where you're coming from, especially as a new angler too, because you're just like, I'm not feeling anything when I'm throwing this out. Like, am I supposed to feel something? Like, am I supposed to hold on to the line? You know, and I kind of struggled with that too, because, you know, I would ask anglers, I'd be like, hey, what line are you using on that? You know, they'd be like 15, 16 pound. I'd be like, dang, you know, and it works for people, you know, it's different for everybody. That's the part of it too, is, you know, figuring out what works best for you, but also, you know, paying attention to, you know, your setups and what their limits and capacity are too. Because sometimes, you know, you might have a rod where it's only set up to hold maybe like, you know, 10, 20 pound line, but, you know, you're using beyond what it should be using. So, yeah, that would be my advice for that.
You see, that's something I've sort of been trying to work with myself but I'm trying to make things more universal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a limited amount of rods and reels for me to choose from.
Sure.
So and I only usually carry about 4 setups with me on the water.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get them just right to where I can use things for more than one thing.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
for instance, I've got one rod that it's a medium heavy, and I think I've got like 15-pound fluoro on it now. So to use, you know, chatterbait, spinnerbait, just, you know, different stuff like that. And then I got another one that's like just a medium with like 12-pound test on it for crankbaits and jerkbaits and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my jig rod. You know, I can always, I guess, use that for like Texas rig, or I guess I could use it for shaky head.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But probably not going to take the jig off.
Right.
But one thing I have been thinking about is, you know, my topwater rod.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of throwing spooks
Mm-hmm.
on anything except for mono. I like that stretch or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like that stretch for mono when I'm doing the walk the dog motion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then with to me, you can't really throw a popper on a bait caster. It's hard for me at least, because it's so light. So that's kind of eliminated from that setup. Mainly going to be using the whopper plopper. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I like using braid for it. I want to throw the frog more this year, hollow body frog. Well, that requires like a thick braid. So I'm thinking about like a 50-pound braid, and I figured that'd be pretty good for a frog. I'm feeling like it ain't gonna matter a whole lot with the whopper plopper, and probably not gonna throw a spook.
Mm-hmm.
Just to
Yeah.
be honest.
Right. Yeah. Well, a little secret when it comes to throwing the little itty bitty poppers, whatnot. I use a spinning reel.
Yeah,
I do.
that's what I figured.
I do.
But I don't want to bring a reel out just for that.
Just
Now,
right. Yep.
now I
get you, man.
could use, I do carry a one spinning reel with me
Mm-hmm.
on a medium light with like it's either 6 or 8 pound test, but I usually use fluoro, which sinks, which probably ain't that great for a popper. I don't know. I take that back. I have heard of people using fluoro with it because it kind of makes it dig down a little more. So I
Mm-hmm.
might be able to use it with that.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, you totally could. And having a versatile rod and reel, is really good. And that's the great thing about fishing is there's a million different kinds of, rod and reel combos that you can use for just about anything. You get yourself a medium rod with, a fast action to it. You can throw anything on that. You can throw topwater. You can throw jigs on it. You could throw shaky heads on it. You could throw cranks on it. The sky's the limit when it comes to that stuff. But tournament anglers, they like to, kind of narrow things down to them where, they're in their kayak and they're like, all right, I'm gonna hone in on, these 5 different techniques, and each rod they have is set up just for those different things. They may be set up for those 5 different techniques, but in an instant you could change it out and fish something different. With me with topwater, especially out here at Banner, I throw a minimum of 65-pound braid just because I've got thick, heavy mats. I've got stumps and logs and stuff like that. And, you don't want to lose a big bass off of, braid that was only set for 20-pound. So yeah, I mean, me personally, I use 65-pound minimum. Now, when it comes to, spooks and ploppers, I can get away with going a little bit lighter. I think you use 40-pound for that. So, you don't have to go too crazy on that. And using fluoro or mono for spooks, you can get away with that too. Having the different line, having it sink or float, it just kind of depends, what action you're wanting it to do too, so.
Well, see, I made the mistake when I first started using a whopper plopper of using fluoro because that's what I already had on that line, and then people started, giving me hell about it. Yeah, like at the time I didn't know fluoro sinks. I just heard everybody talk about they're using fluoro, so I bought some fluoro.
Right. Yeah.
And,
Yeah. And I didn't know a lot of that stuff either. When I first got into everything, people would be like, oh yeah, you got to use this because it floats, or you got to use this because it sinks. I'm like, okay.
Nobody even told me that it floats or sinks. They just said use this. Like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's like, well, there's more science behind it than what I thought. Holy crap.
Yeah, I think mostly with fluoro, people told me like it's don't have the same amount of stretch.
No.
Don't
Yeah.
stretch as much.
Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting. You say you throw your whopper ploppers on 40-pound braid.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Yep.
this year was my first year throwing a whopper plopper, and I think I threw it all year on like 17 or 20-pound braid.
Yeah. It just depends, again, it's a matter of preference. If I was somewhere else and it was just kind of thick weeds or whatever, then, I'd probably be comfortable with 15, 20-pound braid. But where I fish, I know that those weeds are like thick, and there's trees and stuff that are submerged like right underneath it. So I'm like, I know that I need to have that extra oomph to it. I mean, especially for frogs and especially for punching. Like I won't do anything lighter than 65, because just like I know, I'm like, if I try anything lighter, it's gonna snap and break.
You do a lot of punching?
I don't. I haven't given it a lot of adequate time, or fair time, I guess I should say. I've caught some fish off of it, nothing too big or anything, but I would rather throw a frog all day, or throw a buzzbait, or throw a plopper all day than punching. I mean, there are there are days where when the sun is dead high in the sky, there's not a cloud in sight, and I'm just like, God, I want to throw topwater, but I know they ain't gonna hit it. Where it's just like, yeah, I should probably punch or something else, but I'll resort to something else. I was like, I'll choose something else that I know better for punching. But I mean, it's just a preference thing.
Yeah, that punching is something that I'd like to try. See, I don't know where a lot of grass is around here. I need to find some. But last week I did that episode with Cody Jennings over there at JigMasters, and we talked about that punch rig he's got, and man, it looks like a jig. You work it like a jig. You just throw it right up in some thick grass. Man, I really want to try it out. I got to find some grass.
Oh yeah, you come out here to Central Illinois, I'll put you on grass and weeds all day.
Well, I'm only like 2.5 hours from Gunnersville, and it's pretty well known for grass, and I'm really thinking about. I've joked about the idea. I think I joked about it with Dan because he's pretty close. Like us going up there for the NC and just crashing it and catching all the fish and
Heck yeah.
pissing everybody off. Like,
right.
That could have been my winning fish, but I don't know. I would like to come down. You're gonna be there, right?
Oh yeah.
I would like to come down there and like hang out with y'all that are gonna be down there, and I still haven't met you or several of the other ones that on the podcast in person.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've met maybe not quite half of the crew. I've met Sam, I've met Brian, I've met Jay.
Josh. I remember him talking about it at Turkey Bowl.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting that. So yeah, maybe not quite half, or just right at half. Yeah.
Yeah, only ones I've met were at Del Hollow. It was Josh, Brad, and Jay.
Yeah.
Hopefully this year we'll all get together and be able to. It's going to be interesting trying to get everybody there at the same time.
Right.
I don't know how well that'll work out, but hopefully I'll get to meet some more of y'all this year.
Right. I know. Yeah. It'll totally be a good time if we can make it happen. But yeah, you'll have to come down to the NC and crash the party.
I've thought about it. Like I've heard vendors and stuff are going to be at the NC, and like you can usually get stuff pretty cheap.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll have a few vendors there. I'm trying to remember what they had last year. Angler was there. They had Dakota Lithium was there. Fish USA was there. Ketch was there. I'm trying to remember who else was there. It's almost been a year ago now. But yeah, there's some vendors there that'll have some kind of like, basic necessity stuff. But, I always like to check out the local tackle shops too, just to see, I like to get, not only information from them, but just kind of get an idea of, kind of like how the community is too. You can usually find out a lot from your local tackle shops too.
That's a good technique. Like going to a new area, new lake, that's not a bad idea. If you go to like the local tackle shops, you're going to see what they carry. More than likely, they're going to carry what the people that fish those local waters are using.
Yep, exactly. You know, I mean, yeah, you might have your local, you know, Bass Pro Cabela's, but like if there's one thing that I find a bit more frustrating than my local Bass Pro is that they carry a lot of, you know, merchandise, but sometimes they don't have the colors that I want, you know, especially for banner. You know, I'm just like, come on, guys, you're missing out on a huge market. So I'll either end up, you know, going to Presley's, which is a little tackle shop in Bartonville, because you know they know what the people want. They carry stuff that people want and people ask for. So like I could just walk in there, you know, and grab the missile bait colors that I need or whatever, you know. So it's always interesting, you know, to kind of see that sometimes. I mean, I know it's more of a corporation thing or whatever for, you know, Bass Pro, Cabela's, etc. But yeah, usually the local tackle shops, you know, you can just by looking around, you can see, okay, you know, this is kind of, you know, what the lake is like. And then, you know, just talking with people too is a great way to kind of learn some more information too.
And you know, since you mentioned that, I'm gonna do a quick shout out to a shop pretty local to me, Hook One in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. You know, they're pretty good about that. I was in there one time. You know, they keep a small but decent selection of baits and lures and stuff. Well, I was looking at the whopper ploppers, and you know, I wanted one in bluegill. I think I wanted a bluegill 90 because I've had pretty good luck on that one. And they were like, yeah, we ain't. I was talking to the guy at the front desk. He's like, yeah, we ain't got it. And the manager just so happened to be right there, and he was on his phone. He's like, what color were you wanting? He's like, all right, it'll be here in a couple of days. I'm actually making an order right now.
Nice.
So like, and they keep them stocked now. Like last time I went in there, they kept them stocked. So last time I went in there was after I talked to Jody Queen, and I talked to him about chatterbaits. So I went in there because they had them, and they didn't have the color that I was looking for, and they asked me what color I was looking for. I even showed them a picture of it, and so I haven't been back in there to see if they picked that up, but you know,
nice.
They're pretty cool in there, and they let me put some paddle and fin stickers there and give them away to people as
nice
that came in there. So
awesome.
Yeah. So Hook One, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Make sure you go see them if you live in the local area or passing through.
Very nice. Very nice. How far away are you from Chickamauga?
I can tell you real quick. If I can spell it right. Here we go.
I guess depending which
Georgia.
part you're.
It's in Georgia, right?
It's Tennessee.
Chickamauga?
Really? Yeah.
There's a Chickamauga.
Well,
there's a Chickamauga of Georgia too.
Oh yeah.
Chick. Is it spelled the same?
Chick, Amauga.
Yeah. Just killing time, folks. Killing time. There's a Chickamauga Dam there. Where's that at? Okay, this is Tennessee. It says 121 miles, 2 hours.
Okay, well, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I've got.
What's there? Is there a tournament there this year?
Bass is going to be on there. I'm eyeing it. I've got it on my calendar for now, so we'll see.
You know, now that I think about it, I feel kind of stupid for not knowing that, because that's where Odd Defoe's from, ain't it?
Who?
Odd Defoe, like the professional boat fisherman.
You know, I couldn't tell you.
I think that's his local waters, and I think he won a tournament on it, 2015.
Yeah. You know, that's an interesting topic. Is you know, the following the bass boat tournaments and everything. You know, you would think that, being anglers, we would follow, the pros and stuff like that. And I, not only never really watched it or grew up with that, but I still don't really follow it that much. I mean, I think I might have watched a little bit of the recent one last week or something, but then somebody had posted a video today of some guy whose bass got like hung up on like a tree or something.
I
like
know
that.
what you're talking about.
He jumped in the water to go retrieve it.
Yeah, like
what? Hey, I mean,
and there's a lot of people upset about that too.
Right.
Like saying that, that's promoting like an unsafe which
Right.
it is a little safer for him. There was another boat there, there's
Right. Yeah,
probably
they've
like
got a
two
crew
people.
and everything,
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, when he jumped in, like he was just like, "Oh, you weren't kidding." And he was like shivering. I was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, it's a
I
little
thought
cold."
he was about to need medical attention when he first jumped in because he looked like he was about to go into shock or something.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely not promoting the safest of behaviors, which is another interesting topic, is like what length will anglers go to try to catch that fish, and I guess they'll go to pretty far lengths, but
I
also
mean, especially when you're fishing for that big of money.
right. Yeah,
But,
that's the whole part of it too, is like they've got such bigger payouts than what we do.
but something that I do want to say, because I am really big on safety when we're out there on the water,
Mhm.
something I do want to emphasize to people that may see that or may go look at it now since they heard us talk about it.
Mhm.
Uh, like we said, he had other boats around him to, you know, if something were to happen, they get him out. I don't think he ever, well, actually, he did. Another thing about it. I was going to say, I don't think he ever let go of his boat, but when he got the fish up, he did let go. Um, that's probably not the safest thing. There is current and
Mhm.
runs through lakes. It can sweep you down. People die every year, just jumping off boats without a life jacket on and just swimming and get sucked down and like go down and never come back up.
Yep.
So it's really not a safe thing to do. If they
Yeah.
allow him to do it and he wants to do it, I'm the type of person, you're a grown man, you're gonna do what you want to do. But I'm gonna try to tell people, you know, it from what my knowledge, a safe way to do things. You know, what they choose to do with the information is going to be on them. But I got to at least try.
Right. Yeah. The question everybody should be asking themselves, is your life worth it?
Yeah.
Is your life worth that fish or that lure or whatever it is you're trying to do? In that situation, yeah, I mean, he had, the other boats around him, but, I was looking at it, I was like, the water clarity, once he was underwater, you wouldn't be able to see him. So like
Yeah.
if he would have
That's
gotten
true.
tangled up, if he would have gotten tangled up somewhere, yeah, I mean, the boat was probably spot locked, but still, I mean, if he would have gotten trapped or entangled, what next? I mean, it's, yeah.
That's
I mean,
very true.
yeah, I get it to a certain extent, but I mean, like the conditions and everything, was it the 120 rule? Was the water temperature and the air temperature equal to 120? If not, like I'm curious what it was, because I mean, yeah, as soon as he jumped in, he was just like, woo. So I was like, yeah, that is shock right there.
Now, one thing I will say is I could be completely wrong about this, but I believe I heard it was like 80 degrees and the water was still cold, but it was a warm day.
Hmm.
I want to say they said water was like 50s or 40s and it was like around 80 air temp. So I believe it was above the 120 rule.
Hmm.
It and that's another thing that probably helped him is once he got out of the water, it was warm, so it probably helped him warm up
Oh,
pretty quick.
right. But even then, you think about it. Think about 50-degree water, 60-degree water, 70-degree water. That's still cold. Our human bodies, we run at, 98 degrees. When, you're at a 30-degree deficit, you're going to be in a kind of a bad situation. But yeah, again, air temperature, like wind, how much sun. was there, there's so many different factors when it comes to things like that, I mean, at the end of the day, it might have not have been the smartest decision for what he did. I mean, he got the bass. And I was actually glad that he didn't actually have to like dive down and get it or anything. Like I was like really nervous. I was like, oh God, like this dude is gonna like disappear under this water or something like that. But I think he was like messing with the line with his feet or something like that. And then it finally came up. I was like, okay, thank God.
So, yeah. I'm just thankful, everything worked out and he's okay.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. I mean, yeah, I can definitely preach the whole safety aspect of everything too. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me what sort of scenario can come up and happen when it comes to, even just kayak fishing. I mean, you could have weather, you could have an embedded hook, you could have somebody get run over by a boat, I mean, anything goes.
And that's one thing that I think a lot of people take for granted is like, I made a post about it on Instagram just not too long ago. When I first started kayaking, I didn't wear a PFD. I used the typical same old excuse everybody else uses. Well, I can swim. I'm fine. I can swim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've had between podcasts that I've listened to and talking to different, more advanced kayak anglers, I've learned the possible dangers that can happen. So I wear it every time now, whether I'm with friends, whether I'm by myself. I got it on every single time because you never know. Like house story, getting hit by a boat. You can't predict that. And when that happens, what are you going to do? Sit there and like the boat ain't going to stop for you to grab your PFD and put it on real quick. And he had to bail out. And then he's struggling, trying to get his gear back and everything. Well, you try to do that without a PFD on, then, you're going to sink.
Mm-hmm.
And what if he would have got hit by the boat and got knocked unconscious? You can't swim when you're unconscious.
Right. Yeah.
And I also remember there was hearing a story of the guy got a hook stuck in him, went to pull it out. The pain was so much that he passed out, woke up floating in the water, and had no idea how long he had been out.
Jeez.
Like was able to get himself to shore and passed out again once he climbed up on the bank. Like something like that. I mean, if you try to pull a hook out and you pass out, you can't. And when you're passed out, you can't control whether you swim or not.
Right.
That PFD is what saved his life.
Yep. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes I think sometimes people get so comfortable when, nothing happens, but and it's not like, we're preaching that, oh, you have to be on edge all the time, or yeah, you have to be, super conscious. That's not it at all. But, always take safety into consideration. Spring is coming up. So, the water temperatures, like we were talking, people gotta be safe when they're out there. I mean, you may have been to your lake, 1,000 times, but, what's to say, this next time something isn't going to happen? You could have a goose attack you. It happens. People have drowned and gotten hypothermia because they got attacked by a swan or a goose. It can happen, and I mean, if anything, just always be aware. And I cannot emphasize enough too that, and I don't think a lot of people do this, but have an emergency backup plan. I use an app on my phone called Life 360. It tracks me wherever I go. So that way, when I'm traveling for tournaments, Adam can see where I'm at any time of day. Now, if I go out of cell service, there isn't really much I can do about that. But, I've taken him down to Banner and showed him, where I put in. So that way, if something happens, like if I lose my phone or if I flip over and he hasn't heard from me, he knows where to go and start looking for me, and then, take the next action for whatever's necessary. So, have some sort of backup plan, because, if you're going alone all the time, again, like me, what are you going to do if something happens to you? What is your plan? And if you don't have one, I highly suggest you get one. And it doesn't even have to be with a spouse. You could have it be with a friend. Just send somebody a message, say, hey, I'm going out fishing to this spot. Whatever, have a pre-established plan. If you don't hear back from me by this time, message me or call me. Make sure that I didn't forget. Sometimes we get caught up in the moment, or, we're like, oh yeah, I forgot to text them or whatever. But if that one time you don't hear back from them and you try to get a hold of them, they're not contactable, then, I'd be happy to know that somebody's going to be out there looking for me, whereas if I didn't think about it, I could have flipped over and, I could be, floating in the middle of Banner Marsh and nobody's going to know the wiser. So, yeah.
And I kind of do stuff like that with my friends when they like, hey, I'm going fishing in the morning. Be like, where are you going? I do it partly because I'm curious, where they're going to be fishing at.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part is like, okay, I now know where they're going to be at. So if something happens, I get there, get help there, something like that. I don't know. I'm a warrior, so
yeah.
I always think, what's the worst possible thing that can go wrong?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it at least, in that way, you're prepared, to worry about things doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You're thinking
like expect the unexpected.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. You're thinking ahead, you're like, all right, what do I need for this time? What's the temperature supposed to be like? Is it supposed to rain? Is it supposed to storm? That type of thing. Another thing that I like to emphasize too is, having a decent first aid kit. I can't tell you how many times I've had to use a first aid kit, not only just for myself, but for other people. Like a couple years ago, I was fishing a tournament up in Wisconsin, and I was coming up around this bend, and a local angler, Sean Wood, he had a crankbait stuck in a tree, and he whipped it back and caught himself like right in the eye. And so, like, I had like a big first aid kit that had like gauze and bedding and stuff like that, and luckily, I caught him like just in time. It's like, oh yeah, dude, I got a first aid kit. Let me help you out. I mean, it's never going to hurt you to have stuff like that. I mean, some things might be an inconvenience, but again, ask yourself, is your life worth it?
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
I keep a first aid kit on mine too. Mine's just a little small one. You can get at Walmart for like, I think it was like $10 or $14, and then get like a couple, like a package of like the waterproof bandages.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I do got a little something there.
Yeah, yeah. And again, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to buy some $80, $90, $100 first aid kit. You don't have to. If you want to go to Walmart or wherever and just get like a box of Band-Aids, some gauze, and athletic tape, call it a day. I mean, you could be as simple as that. Me, I've had some wilderness first responder experience, so it's like second nature to me to have a bit more than the extra stuff. So like, I've got all the different gauzes. I've got like Benadryl and Aleve and an aspirin. I've got like an ice pack in there. I've got a emergency blanket. I've got like an emergency poncho in there. I've got like all this other kind of little extra stuff in there too, just because that's me. And, I like to have stuff like that. But, you don't have to go too crazy, keep it simple if you want to.
Awesome. Well, we are pushing over an hour.
Man, so, already.
I know it. Like
it always flies.
You're probably one of the best conversationalists I've had out of the paddle and fin crew on here. Gonna have to get you back on here sometime.
Heck yeah.
So we can actually talk about like some techniques or something. We didn't even really get into that. We talked about hooks and setups and safety and
Right. Well, yeah, maybe next time, we could try to like break it down into like different categories, so like, hooks or, lures and, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, talks like these are always good because, it's things that we're passionate about, and it's so easy to talk about a lot of these things too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff we talked about tonight is I do talk to a lot of people about certain techniques or lures and how to use them and all that. You can hear about that stuff all the time. Stuff that we talked about tonight, you don't hear a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear a lot of conversation on it. It's kind of put in the background. So
Right, yeah, because I mean, yeah, you think about bass fishing for noobs, you're first getting into it, so you're not thinking about things, that
there's
you've
like, how do I
done.
get on there and catch fish? Okay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this is, we haven't had the chance to get out there and do things over and over and over again for more than a couple of years, whereas now it's just like, yeah, this, techniques and stuff like that. Some of that stuff is second nature. But then I think about it, I was like, oh yeah, new people wouldn't think about changing out hooks, or, having the split ring pliers or first aid kits. I mean, they might have first aid kits, but,
A lot of people probably wouldn't. There's
right.
probably certain people that would, but a lot of people probably wouldn't.
Right,
So
exactly.
yeah, I think we unintentionally hit on all the right subjects tonight.
Heck yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Anytime.
And anybody, if you're new to this podcast and don't know who Susie is, you can check her out here on Paddle and Fin every other Wednesday on. Um, I always mix it up. Adventures with Outdoorwoman.
Yep.
I always want to say Outdoors Woman.
Right.
Outdoor.
Well, you're not the only one. Yep. Just think the outdoor woman. Yep.
Yeah. Every other Wednesday, Adventures with Outdoorwoman. Susie Roloff. Check her out. She's awesome. But yeah, so everybody. I don't know. I always feel awkward about this. Do you want to shout out, sponsors and stuff?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Sure. I guess a shout out would be my newest one. I haven't really like made a post about this one yet. Just because I'm waiting to get some of my stuff, but I have a newer sponsor. It's Bassett Baits. He's a local guy out of, I think oh my gosh, I'm going to screw this up already. I think he's near Rockford, if I want to remember right. But anyway, he's a local guy. He makes all of his stuff. It's actually pretty awesome what he does, and he's all about creativity. So I've given him some interesting ideas on some different things to make. But yeah, joining with his team this year. So I'm pretty excited about that. And of course, everything else. So Hobie Fishing Team, you guys will probably seen on my post with Quest Water Sports with the shows that I've been helping with them. Excalibur Seasonings, Tourney Tag, She Angler Customs. I just got an order shipped today. I'm going to be posting that on Instagram, so you can see some of these custom baits I had painted for me. I'm really excited to use them already. Oh, I want spring to be here right now.
Me too.
So, but yeah, and then of course, Paddle and Fin.
Rock on.
Yeah, buddy.
Social medias?
Yep. So social media, Facebook. I've got my main page, Susie Roloff, and then my fishy page, Adventures with Outdoorwoman, and Instagram, Outdoorwoman84.
All right. Awesome. So go follow her. Check her out every other Wednesday here on Paddle and Fin. Other than that, guys, when you're feeling the burn, come here to learn. I don't, how you like, well, there's been a lot of talk about like outro statements. And so I kind of came up with that. It probably needs a couple tweaks. You like it?
I like that.
All right.
Yeah, I like that. I see. I've been trying to think of something for me too, and I haven't come up with anything yet. I probably will, but yeah.
We can't use Brian's anymore. So we gotta come up.
Right.
So yeah, guys. When you're feeling the burn, come here to learn.
I like it.
Peace out, guys.
Later.
Go check out the website, guys. Paddle, the letter N and fin.com. Also check out YouTube, youtube.com/paddle and fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle, the letter N and fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at paddle and fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com. You could put the paddle and fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.